All right, I believe that we are feeding out live to the folks. It looks like we're going out there. Let me know if there's anything wrong with the audio, how the audio's coming in, all that kind of stuff. Of course, if you're joining us live, we are on Utreon, so we can hold guns just like that. I can actually hold a gun and not be pulled off the air. I guess Larry Correia, I don't know. He's laughing. He's like, "Can this be possibly true?" You know how ridiculous things have gotten, but I don't know if
Oh
you've
yeah,
yeah.
YouTube's crazy.
Yes, it is. It is. So this is why we're not on YouTube. So I could hold guns. I could do this on YouTube. See, that doesn't hurt anyone. That doesn't hurt anyone out there. So if you're looking at this later on YouTube and you want to join us live, go to Utreon/ Who Moved My Freedom. If you're listening to this on audio and you want to join us live, do the same thing. All right. That being said, I'm going to load my guest onto the screen here, and I'm going to push all the buttons, and we're going to jump into this right now.
Welcome back to the Hank Strange Situation, Lifestyles of the Locked and Loaded.
We wouldn't be able to keep the Who Moved My Freedom podcast going without the support of great companies like Franklin Armory. Franklin Armory provides 100% US-made firearms and awesome binary option triggers. Their focus and purpose is to provide freedom tools to all Americans, especially those in not-so-free states. So when you're in the market, please consider Franklin Armory. All right, here we go. We are live. Let's get this going here. Okay, so Larry Correia, this is your first time on the show. You don't know this. We do this thing called jazz hands. It goes like this. We're taking it back from the terrorists. Everyone has to do it. No matter. I know you're a tough guy. There you go. Jazz hands. Taking it back from the terrorists out there. We are live. I hope you guys have your big girl panties on. Listen, this is a big deal for me. I'm actually pretty excited to have Larry Correia, author, on the show. This is episode 946 of the Who Moved My Freedom podcast. Like I said, our guest is author Larry Correia. He's a Second Amendment guy, a true dyed-in-the-wool gun guy. We'll get into all of that here. And he also has a book coming out, nonfiction, called In Defense of the Second Amendment. Larry Correia, I'm proud to say welcome to the podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Yes. Thanks for coming on. We've had a few other famous people, but to me, I'm really excited about this. Some of the gun guys out there are not going to understand this, but you are a genuine gun guy, right? Do you want to just give people out there some of your pedigree?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I got famous for being a novelist, but before I was a writer, I actually owned a gun store. I was an SOT Title VII, so we did machine guns, suppressors, all that fun stuff. I used to, back in the olden days, shoot 3-gun, back at the dawn of 3-gun, did that rather religiously. I've shot IDPA, USPSA, all that kind of stuff. Love it. I was a concealed weapons instructor in the state of Utah for about 10 years. I taught thousands of people because I used to teach a lot of classes and did that for quite a long time. And yeah, I'm a hardcore gun guy.
Yeah.
I mostly write books so I can buy more guns.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Larry Correia is a for real gun dude. Night Train is out there. He says, wow, the esteemed Larry Correia, the real deal. Yes, he's the real deal. And so let me first of all just give props to my brother, Anonymous Strange. I did an interview with you at SHOT Show 2016. Yes, you go to SHOT Show. I guess that's where you scope out all your new guns.
Yeah, that year actually I was doing a thing with JP Enterprises because
Right.
JP did a rifle that was going to be in one of my books, and so we had a
Right.
custom gun that belonged to one of the characters, and
Right.
so JP just made the rifle,
Mm-hmm.
and so they sold. You can still get that. It's called the JP Enterprises Cazador. It's I grabbed one here.
Yeah, let's take a look at it because and I believe that has the Monster Hunter International logo on it, or you can request it, right? One of those.
Yeah, they have the Monster Hunter International logo
Look at that. That's
or
beautiful.
the MCB logo, and
Uh,
also it's cleared just because I know people on the internet always freak out. But, yeah,
yeah,
the
that's a
block
beautiful
out there.
gun, man.
I love this thing.
Yeah, it
I
still
actually
looks
used
good.
this at a Blue Steel Ranch training class in New Mexico.
Okay.
And so I did the 1,000-yard precision rifle class down there. This was the rifle I used for it. It was a hoot. Got a AAC can on here, U.S. optic scope. This thing is it shoots way, way, way better than I do.
Yeah, AAC, are they also in Utah or?
Oh no, wait, that's not AAC. I'm sorry, this is Silencer Co. My bad.
Oh, that's Silencer Co. Okay.
Yeah, I own too many suppressors.
Yeah, too many cans. No, well, yeah, it looks from is it just Silencer Co. that does that right there on the muzzle of the suppressor on the front end? That's kind of sick. Yeah,
I think so. And then like my next can is going to be a dead air.
Okay.
Yeah, so I like quiet guns.
Yeah. Yeah, cans on everything. That's what I believe in.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to run, if you guys search on YouTube and you go back, there's some good videos with Larry out there. But from 6 years ago on Hank Strange, YouTube/Hank Strange, you're going to see that. Look at that. That's a skinnier version of me with a pattern in my head that I used to do back in the days. And that's us.
I was a lot grayer. Or I'm a lot grayer now. I hadn't gone gray yet.
Yeah, the beard is is growing in more. The tactical beard.
Yeah, my tactical beard is definitely now it's now snow camo.
Right. Rifter says JP Rifles make some awesome hardware. So that
they are fantastic.
Yeah. JP Rifles, man, they do a lot of really cool stuff out there. And
they shoot so much better than I do. I mean, I shoot a lot, but precision rifle is my worst area. Like I'm not a good precision rifle guy. I suck at reading wind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but no, this rifle shoots far better than I do.
Yeah, I think like shooting long distance and stuff like that is the most cathartic. It's almost like yoga or something like that for gun guys, right? You really have to concentrate and focus, and you got to know math, which never, I'm not that good. I like stuff where everything's in the reticle. I don't have any big optics in front of me, but I like where everything is in that reticle, and all I have to do is understand patterns.
Yeah. If I'm shooting under, 500 yards, then it's pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward, depending on the reticle you're using. But when you get out past that, it gets kind of crazy.
Yeah. What's the furthest you've shot, Larry? So far?
The furthest I've ever hit a target is 1,200.
Okay.
And that was at Blue Steel Ranch in New Mexico.
Okay.
And only because I had a really good spotter. Shout out to Dave Bridges, who's my spotter. Dave's a good friend of mine, and he got kind of hosed in this class because I spotted for him and he spotted for me, and he was a far better spotter. And then actually I came home and got glasses not too long after this.
Right. Yeah, I think the furthest I've done is a mile, but that was with a whole bunch of people telling me what to do.
Yeah, that's a long ways.
Yeah, and taking several shots. Yeah. But I can't really take credit for that, because if you really want to be able to do that, it takes a lot of concentration. It's a fun thing. Rifter wants to know if you've ever done did you ever shoot the MGM Iron Man 3 gun?
I did, yeah. I love the MGM Iron. I shot that a couple years. I'm friends with Travis Gibson from MGM, and I shot that. That was a fun match. I was there the year that they did the zip line.
Oh wow!
Where we shot from a zip line, and I did that, and I was scared to death in the pictures, because you're going down this zip line. You start on this giant tower, and you go off, and it's a pistol stage. And you got your handgun, and I was shooting a SIG 226 tactical at the time, and because that was the one that I had the most mags for, because that's a high round count match. And there's targets directly below you and on the side of you, and in the picture, my legs are spread like super wide because I was so worried I was going to shoot myself in the foot.
Wow. Okay.
And you're going like 40 miles an hour down the zip line. I don't know how fast it was, but it's crazy.
Yeah, I think let me see. I think I pulled up a video, not necessarily, is this the same place? No, this is Blade City. It says this place lets you shoot from a zip line.
It's nuts. Yeah, the Iron Man.
Oh,
The
here we
Iron
go.
Man is a great, crazy match.
Let's see if we can get that to show up. What it's like shooting from a zip line.
Yep. Oh my
Oh
gosh.
no, that's crazy. Okay.
It's so nuts.
Oh, that's going so fast.
Yeah.
So
And
it was like that?
I was hosing.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like that. And then there was ones directly below you, and then there was a big array at the end that, like, once you
Okay.
came to a stop, you'd hit some more. And it was, the funny thing is like, so I had my 226, and I had my spare mags up here in front where I wear my spare pistol mags, and they put me in this harness, and the guy doing the harness was a Navy SEAL, so he knew what he was doing on harnesses, and he's like, "Don't worry, this is, I haven't killed anybody yet." And it felt like I had everything right, and then I stepped off the platform. What happens is the harness snaps up, and all your weight's on it, and it smushed my magazines, my spare magazines, back into my body, into my gut.
Right.
And so I went to reload at the end of the stage, and I was like tugging and couldn't get my spare magazine.
It's like giving your own self a wedgie.
It wasn't so bad, and so the last couple targets were spared. I did not. Yeah, they were safe.
I think I would want to do that with a machine gun, like a machine gun pistol,
Yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that the Iron Man is the match where you will shoot. I can't remember the round counts now, but it's something like 1,000 rounds if you don't miss. And the field courses are long, like they're long stages. Like, and it's up in Idaho, and when you do it, it's fairly hot and dusty, and boy, you just get so tired by the end of these stages. But they had stages where you had to breach a door with a battering ram, and then they would have a pop-up target would run at you, and there were stages doing rifle beneath cars, and you're in the dust, and you discover how much dust your muzzle brake kicks up.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. So
it was fun.
Yeah. I definitely want to give a shout out to my brother, Anonymous Strange. I think I told you about him way back. I don't know whether you remember that or not. But that's who introduced me to Larry Correia. So we're both gun guys, and we're also very, our whole lives we've like read and stuff like that. Nowadays I do more audio books. But when we got into the gun thing, my brother encouraged me to do YouTube. And, when we got into it, he was like, man, I discovered this guy that writes fantasy novels. That's the kind of stuff we're into, and he's a gun guy. It's for real gun action in there, real gun handling, real Second Amendment person and all that kind of stuff. So big shout out to him. And there are gun guys out there that still read. I know
Thankfully.
a lot. Yeah, yeah. I know a lot of people. Even though I just said I listen to mostly stuff on audiobook, but there's I don't know if you've ever heard of Sam Andrews. He makes leather holsters.
Andrews, a holster?
Yeah, Andrews Custom Leather. He makes holsters. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you ever need a holster, that's the guy to go to. And if you tell him you know Hank Strange, he's gonna look out for you. He's been making holsters for 40 years. He does a lot of movie holsters as well nowadays. Like he did all the holsters in the movie, the remake of Magnificent Seven.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he does a lot of that stuff. But at his place, when I was out there I do videos with him on YouTube to show how he makes holsters. And when I was there, he actually reads books, Larry, because he doesn't really understand the internet and technology.
Well, God bless him for buying books.
Yeah, so he actually reads books, and he had this over there. He's a big fan of yours. He reads all your stuff, and he was like, oh, you can show him this book that gun guys still read, actual books. These are words for people out there who don't know. These are words here in these books.
Hey, well, don't get me wrong. I love audiobooks too. Like about a third of my business is audiobook. About a third of my business is physical books. And about a third of my business is ebooks.
Oh, okay.
So I always tell people, whatever makes you happy, that's how you should read it. Like whatever style you enjoy. I'm just here to tell stories, man. So yeah. I'm not a purist. I listen to a lot of audiobooks myself.
Yeah, it's easier to listen to audiobooks and do, when you start getting really busy, there's a lot of stuff going on. It's just easier to listen to audiobooks. I especially like to do it when I'm driving. It's just a lot of fun.
I paint miniatures. I'm a nerd. I'm a geek. So I paint miniatures and I listen to audiobooks. And plus, the advantage of audiobooks for me is, as a writer, my brain is reading all day, my own stuff. And so if I read other people's books, then all of a sudden my brain starts to edit.
Yes.
So even if the book is good, I'm all like, oh wow, that's clever. I see what you did there.
Hmm.
And then if the book is not good, my brain starts fixing it
Right,
and
right.
moving words around,
Hmm.
and that's not conducive for a fun reading experience, you know.
Yeah, that's a lot of creative people do that. I do that too. I do that while I'm listening to audiobooks even. But
Yeah, the audio though, I'm unlucky because
Mhm.
I can't stop it and think about it. It just keeps
Yeah.
going, so I have to get sucked along.
Yeah, it's
But I got
easier
really
to
good
plug in.
narrators.
Yeah, it's
I love audio.
yeah, I was gonna say that it's easy to plug in. You have really good narrators. There's one guy that does most of your stuff. Well, I know he did a lot of the Monster Hunter.
Oliver Wyman,
Yeah, Oliver Wyman. He's great. It's fantastic.
he is awesome. Yeah, he
Yeah,
is fantastic.
and just to show you the creds here, I'm gonna pull up. This is Audible. Now, I don't have some of the stuff that's come out recently. I don't have Gunrunners in my library because I'm gonna be listening to that. But here's all the Monster Hunter International stuff in the library, in the library, in the library.
Nice.
You know, so and I'm trying to find there's some short stories you did as well. Dead Six. My brother really likes the Dead Six stuff. Oh, A
Oh, that's a
Murder of
fun one.
Manatees. I like the is it Tom Stranger, I want to say.
Yeah, Tom Stranger with narrated by Adam Baldwin.
Adam Baldwin.
Yep,
Not
he is awesome.
not a Baldwin brother. Adam Baldwin's
Nope,
not.
nope, nope. And he actually, this Adam knows how to handle guns,
Right.
unlike the other ones. I mean, he actually knows how to handle firearms. No,
Yes.
Adam's a stud. He's a great dude. Um,
Fantastic. Fantastic.
yeah, and yeah, he pretty famous actor, and
Right.
now I've got him doing manatee noises on a comedy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Adam Baldwin's the guy who was in Firefly. For anyone
yep.
who if you I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there who know Firefly. So that guy's Adam Baldwin. And the weird things, I really recommend people listen to these short stories. I listen to because you got a bunch of them now. Is it like three or four of them that are out?
We bundled, I think, four of them, and we bundled them all together into one audiobook called
Hmm.
Number One in Customer Service.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
it's a hoot. It's a lot of fun.
it's really good stuff, and it's there's a lot of comedy in there. There's it's like alternate dimensions and stuff like that. Just a lot of good stuff in there. I don't like it just because it has Stranger in it, and I'm Hank Strange. But Adam Baldwin's reading it. He's actually the subject. He's one of the characters in the story. It's mind bending.
Yep.
This thing.
Yeah, so I added the narrator as a character, only he's the president of the United States in one dimension.
Right.
And yeah, from and his political party was the Libertarian Space Cowboy Alliance.
Right. So you obviously wrote this first, and then you got Adam Baldwin to do it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, 'cause I knew Adam a little bit.
Hmm.
We done some stuff together on the internet, and he's a great guy, very very intelligent guy,
Hmm.
super articulate.
Hmm.
And so I wrote this really silly story, and I put him in as the president of the United States in it because he's a politically minded actor, and
Hmm.
he's not a liberal, and so I put him on there, and then so Audible wanted to make this story. So they approached Adam Baldwin and said, "Would you narrate this story?" And it's the wackiest thing ever. And he went for it, and he
Yeah.
did it, even though he's a character in it. He thought it was a
It's
hoot.
so
And,
much fun. It's so much fun. This
yeah,
has to be, we're going to get into all of this stuff here as we talk about this, but this has got to wind up being like a TV show or cartoon or something like
we
that.
we almost actually got a cartoon. We almost
Really?
got a TV show of Tom Stranger at one point, but that deal fell through.
Hmm.
Um, Hollywood's weird. And what killed us was actually they said, well, Rick and Morty is about multiple dimensions, so it'll be seen as derivative, which is funny. I've never watched a single
Oh,
episode of
no?
Rick and Morty.
No, you haven't?
I
Okay.
have no idea.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
that's what kind of killed us when we were chopping that around.
Oh,
Hollywood's nuts though. So I've optioned
yeah.
a couple things for TV shows, Hard Magic and Monster Hunter. I've both been optioned.
Okay.
Um,
Nothing's come out yet, right?
yeah, nothing's been made yet.
Hmm.
Nothing's been made. They're just under options, which basically I get money for nothing.
Right. Hey. Well, you put the work in. You put the work in. If they want to have the rights to your movie for a certain amount of time, they got to pay
Yep.
for it. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so I get a certain amount of money every year, and they hold on
Hmm.
to it, and they'll put it in development, and it'll be out of development. It's weird. It's whatever. Monster Hunter is at a company called Entertainment One, and Hard Magic is at Radar Pictures.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
fingers crossed.
Yeah. And Rick and Morty, I was a fan. Actually, I think I'm still a fan of the first Rick and Morty. The first couple of series are actually pretty good, but they lost those original writers, and so it's not as good as getting more SJW and all that kind of stuff in there. But I think these stories are different enough that, lots of people are doing different dimensions and all that nowadays. So
Yeah, it's been a thing in sci-fi forever.
yeah.
But oh well, it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things is we got like less than a minute here. I really like this story, man. I just like the ridiculousness of the whole thing, and that's just always a fun listen in my mind. Your stuff is always, I think, has an element of funny in it, but there's some more serious, very dramatic things that happen. This is just fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm all over the board. I'm a multi-genre kind of guy. I do some serious stuff. I do some dark stuff. I do funny comedy stuff, and I do comedy in my serious stuff. I'm just a sucker for. I get bored if I did the same thing all the time.
Yeah, I think that's just how creative people are. It's just like you were saying. When I listen to music, I rewrite the songs. Or I start writing other songs. So we're gonna actually take a quick break here, and we're gonna come right back, and we're gonna keep talking to Larry Correia. Let's do this. Walther Arms has been making concealed carry handguns for over 90 years, starting with the PPK. Today, Walther is based in the good old US of A and still builds quality firearms like the PPQ and PDP for personal defense and competition. So when you're in the market, please consider Walther Arms. We wouldn't be able to keep the Who Moved My Freedom podcast going without the support of great companies like Walther Arms. All right, so let me just take an opportunity here to get in some questions or comments from the folks that are hanging out with us in the chat. You guys can also go to our Discord. Let me see if I can pull it up here. And if you want to put things I'll throw up the Discord here in a second. Lola actually put a link. If you're listening and you're not part of the Discord, you can join it. That's in the chat here on Utreon. Night Train says, I hope he didn't do holsters for Alec Baldwin's movie Disaster Rust, talking about Sam Andrews. And the answer to that, funny enough, is yes, he did do holsters. But when I spoke to Sam about that, he told me he'll probably never get those holsters back because they're all part of evidence and all the stuff that's going on there. But he did do the holsters for that movie, so unfortunately. What do you think? What do you think about that, Larry? I'm very interested to get your take on this whole Alec Baldwin thing and Rust. I know it's been out there for a while.
Yeah, I mean, as a gun safety guy, I mean, I'm very much for rules to the core, right? That's just how it is. Well, I mean, but filming a movie is a different world, and they got to get the different angles, and sometimes they're going to be pointing guns at themselves. But they have these very specific rules to negate, to negate problems, and they didn't obey any of them as far as what it sounds like. It sounds like the armorer was not present when they were doing this. They had live ammo on stage. They'd been plinking earlier. That's just a nightmare. It's just amateur hour nightmare. But I'm not a movie guy. I mean, my gun store, we built some props, but I have never been a gun wrangler for movie stuff. I have no idea how that works, what the process is. But it's, for what I've seen, it just looks like a total train wreck. And then, Alec Baldwin as a human being is a train wreck, which doesn't happen. Yeah. So my knee-jerk reaction as a gun guy who's been, he slanders our culture continuously and mocks us and belittles us. My initial reaction is just say the guy's he's a jerk and it's probably entirely his fault. But I don't know. I don't know. It sucks
that someone got really hurt and someone died behind all of that. And I'm a creative person. You're a creative person. When we look at other crafts out there, and I think the movies is a business that's always interesting to folks like us. You don't want to see these things go on, but yes, the folks like Alec Baldwin are always out there putting down gun guys, and at the same time, I don't want to say ironically, but ironically, I guess, for lack of better words, he winds up in a situation like this for not following safety rules. So
Yeah, and he's such a and the guy he comes off, and like I said, this is just me guessing because I don't have any facts on this. He's such a know-it-all narcissist. Like he no one can tell him what to do. He's the expert. He's the super genius. He knows everything. Having been a firearms instructor, guys like that are the most dangerous thing on the range.
yeah, you
When you
always
get that,
check. Yeah, go ahead.
well, when you get that dude with the chip on his shoulder, like you can't teach him anything because he knows everything, and he's all big boy rules, and he's going to do what he wants, and that dude he's just a disaster waiting to happen. And Alec Baldwin, I get that vibe off him as a person, and so
Yeah.
I would imagine even if you are the gun wrangler, he's probably going to be telling you how to do your job.
Yeah, and he was a producer of this movie, so even if he doesn't catch charges directly, he is responsible as a producer for what goes on. There's a whole string of things that went wrong here, so I don't think it's 100% him, but ultimately it comes down to you. And me being a YouTuber doing gun stuff, we've got live ammo all the time in the guns. And that is something that we worry about, and we, maybe people don't see it in our videos, but we take a lot of time to think about all that. And if I'm in a situation where people aren't being safe, I get out of that situation. Or if it's something I'm in control of, I stop it.
Yeah, life is too short to hang out with dangerous people.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Let me see. I'm trying to see if there's any other comments in here that I'm missing. Okay, I think we're good. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, let us know, and we'll get it out to Larry Correia. Now I forgot where was we were talking. What were we talking about? The books. So do you want to tell the folks out there? I know you've talked about this a lot, right? But for the gun guys, I want gun folks to understand why they should, seek out your books. How did you start? How did you get into writing? What was the first stories that you wrote?
Sure. So I've been a writer ever since I was a little kid. I've always been a storyteller, and I grew up poor in the middle of nowhere, and so there was nothing to do but read library books. And I wrote my first book in college. It sucked, and then I went and had a career, and it was actually while I owned a gun store that I wrote my first book, which was my first published book. That was Monster Hunter International. And where that came from was actually back in the olden days. You remember there was an internet forum called The Firing Line?
Yeah, that's going to be the way olden days.
Way olden days. I'm dating myself here. That's how old I am.
Yeah.
And on The Firing Line, one day we were just joking about how horror movies would be so much shorter if they starred our people, right? They'd be over in a matter of minutes. The bad guy gets blasted and roll credits.
Right.
And so we were joking about this, and this one guy, Ian McMurtry, he's a writer now too. But Ian started a thread called "Lines I'd Like to Hear in a Horror Movie Someday," and it was all just gun nuts, talking smack about movie monster type stuff. And I loved it. It really hit me, and I decided I want to write this book.
Yeah.
And there was actually a line from this one guy named Dillis Freeman who said, the difference between me and you is you look out there and see a horde of evil brain-eating zombies. I look out there and see a target-rich environment. And that made me laugh my ass off. And so actually that's the quote that I opened the first book with. Monster Hunter opens. And this is back in 2007, or that I first self-published it. So I started writing this about 2006, 5. And self-published it. It blew up huge. And so my first book I sold, this is back before self-publishing got normal and common. And I sold it primarily on internet gun forums. And I sold tons of them, and it did really good. It was actually a bestseller off of that. And I got picked up by Bay and Books. And the reason I got picked up by Bay and Books was there's this bookstore in Minneapolis called Uncle Hugo's. And Uncle Hugo's loved my stuff and sent it over to the publisher at Bay and said, "This stuff is perfect for you. I could sell the hell out of it."
Yeah. There's a lot of while you're talking here, I'm just throwing up some of the books. So I think that was your first
Yep.
book that went out there was Monster Hunter with
Yeah,
the
Monster Hunter. Yep.
yeah with the where you there was a character. This is a better way to put it. That was an accountant, and then got attacked by. I love the Monster Hunter stories because it's based on B movie monsters, and I'm always telling people that movie monsters do really exist in real life. They do, and hear me out on this. I think we have people out there that are werewolves. They're one person, and then they flip on you and become another person. We've got vampires, right? We've got all those you got Frankensteins, all these folks out there. But that's what your story was about.
Yeah, I just wanted to take basically all the every monster movie trope there's ever been and throw them into a world full of a bunch of gun nuts who hunt monsters for fun and profit. And it blew up huge. It was a huge success. The first book came out and from Bayan, and people went nuts. It was a giant success. We reprinted it a whole bunch of times and kept selling them. They bought sequels from me, and I'm now at 8 books in that series with 3 spin-offs and a short story collection, and more
Yeah.
coming. So
Yeah, it's gotten deep.
it's nuts.
Gotten deep. Yeah, it's gotten deep. If you want to get lost in some books, I think this would be a great thing. So, for what if there's folks out there that are interested in writing? Really, this is a question for me. This is what I've always wanted to do. Actually, I always told myself when I got
Cool.
old, which I'm old now. I'm gonna write. I'm a creative person. I like to do. I'm into making movies. I'm into 3D animation, all that kind of stuff. So if you were talking to folks like me that wanted to get into this for the first time with everything that you've known for what you've done over the years, how would you advise someone to go about that?
Oh, that's a good question because actually, me and a buddy of mine, his name's Steve Diamond. He's another writer. Uh, Last year, we started a podcast called Writer Dojo. Just one word, Writer Dojo. It's wherever podcasts are, and it's just a weekly show where Steve and I talk about creative writing advice,
Okay.
business wise, and so we've got a year's worth of episodes now, and all sorts of different topics. So check that out. I think it's actually been helping. From what I've seen, it's actually been helping a lot of people. And
Okay.
I've taught creative writing classes before too, so it's the same. I put all that kind of stuff in there. But we also get nitty gritty nuts and bolts of how to publish and how to do that stuff.
Is it
We
this
bring
right here,
guests on.
Writer Dojo?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, that's us.
Okay. Cool.
But it's been pretty helpful for a lot of people, and we got a
Mm-hmm.
Facebook group for people to ask questions and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, there's Steve.
Right.
Yeah, and so it's been going really good, giving a lot of good advice. So check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that helps.
Right.
We've actually got a lot of people that we've helped out. It's been kind of cool. There were other writing advice things out there, but over the last few years, they tended to get kind of woke and angsty, and they were more worried about telling you what you can't do than what you can.
Right.
And I'm the opposite. I'm all about making art. I'm all about artists make art. You go out there and you tell stories and you entertain people and you have fun, and don't worry about the haters.
Right, absolutely. Ritter says, I'm on channel 18 of Monster Hunter International. Nemesis, I'm loving it. I listened to Tom Stranger before that, and read Saga of the Forgotten Warrior before that. I love the writing
Cool.
style. Yeah, you're going to be prolific, man. You're going to be up there. You might take over L. Ron Hubbard for putting out books.
Oh, I'm at
I don't know how you
25
feel
books
about
right
that.
now.
I don't know how you feel. Yeah,
Well, I'm going to write till I die. That's my plan. I mean, I'm never going to retire. Let's be honest. I'm not a retired kind of guy. But I've got 25 novels right now and a couple collections of short fiction, and I've edited some anthologies. I do about 2 books a year, is what I do.
Okay.
Is about my company. 2 books a year and a handful of shorts and novellas, and like we were mentioning audiobooks earlier, but I've got a series of novellas on there called Lost Planet Homicide, which are kind of like gritty
Yeah.
space cop.
Okay.
It's Bosch in space.
Okay.
I got Saga the Forgotten Warrior. You mentioned the first one, Son of the Black Sword. That's my epic fantasy series. I love that one. Next one's coming out in April. I've got the Hard Magic of the Grimnoir Chronicles, or a 1930s alternate history superheroes. Those are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've got my last book that came out is I got a copy.
Yeah.
Servants of War.
And that's with Steve Diamond.
Yeah, so this is the guy I host a podcast with. So we did Servants of War, and it's basically dark fantasy World War One. Is kind of what it is. It's the darkest book I've ever written because Steve's a horror writer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so teaming up with a horror guy made for a dark book.
Yeah.
But like you had Gunrunner earlier, I did that with John Brown. That's a big epic adventure sci-fi novel. So I'm all over the board. I like to do all sorts of different stuff.
Yeah, I think the what was it? The Saga of the Forgotten Warrior. That was. I don't want to say. You could tell me if I'm wrong here, right? It's a little bit in the realm of Brandon Sanderson, maybe, but from like your point of view, I think.
It's that same genre.
Yeah, same genre. Yeah.
It's so it's big epic fantasy, So epic fantasy usually you got kind of like a big sweeping plot, big fantasy world, a lot of
very
magic.
Deep. Yeah. Very deep stuff.
And that's actually probably of my series. That's probably the most serious one. Right. I guess I'd say. That's also the one that I've won a bunch of awards for and got like critical acclaim. That's the only thing I've ever done that I've got critical acclaim. Everything else I do, like the critics just hate me.
Yeah. Well, because I think so. So your other stuff to me is fun, and I really enjoy that. Right? It's fun.
Oh, critics hate fun.
Yeah, exactly. But this was deep. This was deep. Like I said, in as deep as like Brandon Sanderson gets for anyone who knows out there. But still you. I can still see your philosophy, your ideas, all the kind of stuff that we're kind of like simpatico on. It's still weaved in there, and it's done so well. It doesn't overwhelm you, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, I'm one of those guys. Like I entertain. I try to entertain more than preach, but I can't help it. I get a lot of themes of like freedom, personal responsibility, just like people being able to decide from themselves what they're going to do with their lives. A lot of times the bad guys in my books are the authoritarians, the statists, the control freaks, the totalitarians. So I can't help it. I'm a liberty loving kind of guy.
Yeah, it's just you. It's who you are. So let's see this. DCG44 says, added to Amazon wishlist so I can dive deeper after the show. If anyone's interested in doing that, in the description of this video here on Utreon, Lola has links to all of Larry Correia's works, as well as the pre-order for the new nonfiction thing that's coming out, which we're going to talk about here in a little while. So what I was going to say to you is I wish that I could see more of your stuff get out there, in movies and things like that. And I know I was looking at, I think a podcast you did not too long ago, a couple of months ago, and you were talking about how, there's people complaining that there's not more, I don't know what's the best way to put it, right? Like conservative, libertarian, folks who think like us. There's not more folks like us in mainstream stuff that's going on, and I think you have some strong opinions on this.
Yeah, that's something I talk about a lot, because I really was one of the first, not the first, but I was one of the first writers that was really open about who I was and what I believed in, with beliefs other than liberal. Because the publishing industry, Manhattan is, it's like 99% in Manhattan, and everybody knows each other. They're all in the same bubble. They all go to the same parties. They all went to the same schools. They all vote the same way. They think the same way. And a guy like me, I was like this crazy, wild, red state Republican, right? I mean, so as soon as my first book came out, they all knew that it was published by a guy who owns a machine gun store.
Right.
So right out the gate,
I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What more could you ask for?
There's actually a ton of good authors out there that are conservative or libertarian or even just moderate now. But they keep their heads down and they stay quiet out of fear. Because the industry will blackball you. They'll sabotage your career. They'll screw you over. They'll treat you like dirt. They're not good people.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen the same thing in comic books. We've seen the same thing in video games. We've seen the same thing in role-playing games, tabletop games. It's all over the board. All these Hollywood,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. All these creative endeavors where people with the wrong politics kind of get blackballed or screwed or shoved to the side, marginalized. And you know what? Honestly, in the old days when they had the gatekeepers and they were the only people that get away with this, they got away with it. But now there's so many different avenues, thanks to the internet, thanks to crowdfunding, independent publishing. It's opened up a whole new world. So all of a sudden, a bunch of writers that used to have to stay quiet don't have to stay quiet anymore. And I think it's awesome. For
Yeah.
a long time there, it was really lonely.
Well, so the funny thing that I've found is that I guess the woke creatives out there, if you look at the stuff that they're putting out, it's just sickening. Now, I think we've had creative folks out there trying to push an agenda, maybe trying to push a liberal or ultra liberal agenda for a long time. But there was still creativity. They still weave things in there. But now they're very blatant. Right? It's just hitting you in the face. You're looking at movies nowadays or TV shows, and you're just getting smacked in the face every time with it that you could see it. They're not really creative. That's the big problem that's going on.
Yeah, they go out of their way to insult their audience, and then when people don't like it, because consumers don't like getting insulted by their entertainment products, then they go, "Oh, well, people didn't like it because they're racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, whatever it is." They just pick something, and that's why people didn't like it. It wasn't that it wasn't, good, or it was
Mm-hmm.
poorly written, or just not fun or entertaining, but it's become a shield for people to hide behind for poor quality work.
Yeah. We're about to take a quick break here, but I really do want to come back and talk about this. We should have our own ecosystem. I want to expand on that a little bit. So let's take this quick break and we'll be right back. We wouldn't be able to keep the Who Moved My Freedom podcast going without the support of great companies like High Point Firearms and Full Forge Gear, bags and gear for everyday life. Did you know High Point is an American family-owned and operated company located in Ohio with over 30 years of manufacturing experience? High Point is proud to be the home of the working man's gun and your source for affordable handguns and carbines with a lifetime warranty. So when you're in the market, please consider High Point. All right, so just to expand on what I was saying there, because sometimes when I say we need to have our own ecosystem, people get mad. They're like, what are you talking about? Is that like save the planet? But I really do believe, I've been saying this for a long time, that we need to have, basically that's from economic system. We need to have our own ways to fund movies, fund all the creative things we want to see, instead of just complaining about, for example, what's happening at Disney, what's happening at this corporation, that corporation, what's happening with music, what's happening with makeup. There's some things going on. I was having a discussion with Lola about makeup, and this has been ongoing for a long time. I've noticed now that there's more women looking like trans men out there. So actual women, but they're looking like, like they're in drag, because they're following men putting on makeup. So I can, you see women at work, for example, and you're like, wait a second, is this a dude? Because there's like too much, and there's just things constantly going out there in society where we don't have our own ecosystem. So instead of buying makeup from people trying to push things on us, or buying clothing, or going to the movies or video games, we need to do that ourselves. And I know you've spoken about this, right?
Yeah, this is something I've talked a lot, and I think the key is that creators who aren't part of this woke mob, they need to promote each other. They need to support each other. Like I've given a talk before that I've called "Rising Tide Lifts All Boats," and we're all kind of in this together. And so, as creatives, if we can help other creatives that are like-minded people, and we can help them find fans, that's huge. And on a bigger side of things, like what you're talking about was like creating the whole ecosystem. We're starting to see that more and more. You got things like the Daily Wire filming movies now and spending real money on production, and also doing stuff like not just movies but kids shows, markets like that. You've got all these different podcasters like yourself and YouTube streamers who, I mean, YouTube has now turned into like this whole giant independent TV thing. It's just crazy when it's people doing cool stuff. And you got like, GunTube. We couldn't have GunTubers on regular TV. There's no way. They just they throw you guys off in a heartbeat.
Right.
Oh, so we're starting to see more and more, and it's funny though, because YouTube then is another big corporation, and it can lock you guys down and it demonetizes people all the time.
And it does.
But you're already,
it does. Yeah.
But you're seeing people work around it. Like right here, you got this going on in Utreon, so you can handle firearms live. Right. Or you got guys going over to Rumble instead of YouTube.
Yep.
And you got all this stuff going on like that. Yep. See, I mean, we can do this live here and have fun.
Yeah. And no one gets hurt. No one gets hurt. The weird thing is YouTube stopped us from doing that because they were worried about people going live and committing like mass shooting atrocities. Well, it still happens because they went after the guys like myself and you that we're not doing this to hurt anyone. Of course, we're being safe and thinking about what we're doing, and we're professionals even, Yeah. But they don't care about that.
Every set of gun laws always. Some crazy guy does something bad, and who do they punish? The guys that had nothing to do with it. That's, it's like
it makes total sense.
You're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we're going to see this expanding, and I think we're going to see this growing, and it's going to be all over the board. It's stuff like right now. There's a lot of talk in banking and credit card processing because you're starting to see banks being weaponized by political forces to screw over people with the wrong politics. We saw the Canadians do it. Big time last year with the trucker strike.
Yeah,
and
that
so
was crazy.
We'll see it here.
Yeah, we're seeing it now.
UPS.
Yeah,
UPS right now is trying to do all these. They're trying to push through these goofy rules for FFLs, where FFLs would have to turn over their records.
I saw that. That's nuts. And I'm an FFL. There's no way I'm not doing it.
Yeah, it's just insane. Yeah. And my guess on that is there's going to be some lawsuits because I can't see any way under right to privacy, under Americans' right to privacy, that UPS would be able to see what a third-party vendor sold to private individuals.
Yeah. UPS is not the... First of all, I don't even think the ATF should exist, my personal opinion, right?
Oh, gosh, no.
But UPS is not the ATF, so if there is a government body, the ATF dealing with that, there's the Constitution, where does UPS come in? Where does UPS come in? It's not their business. There's other things that they could go pay attention to. FFLs have not created
not losing my packages.
Right. Yeah,
well,
UPS,
they can
FedEx.
Straighten that out first, and then start.
Yeah, we need our own shipping. We need our own shipping. There's lots of shippers that are refusing to ship things for gun manufacturers. So it's crazy.
It's this death by 1,000 cuts thing too. And honestly, this is something I talk about. We'll talk about this more later, I know, but that's one thing I talk about in the gun in the Second Amendment book is kind of this relentless culture war that's in all aspects of society, and it's just kind of this nonstop thing where they just keep endless barrage of death by 1,000 cuts, where they just keep coming at you, and it's like, we have to fight back in every way we can. And it's funny because as we start to win on one type of thing, they come and they change strategy and they hit us from another angle.
Yeah.
So like right now we're doing really well as far as like historical gun rights and politics and stuff. We're kicking butt.
Yeah. I think people are waking up and starting to realize they have to do these things. It's going to take time to online our own ways of shipping, right? And it's going to take time to...
huge logistical challenge.
Massive, and it's going to take time to sue people as well. I think that's what these guys realize on the other side. The problem that I see is kind of like what I call conservative Hollywood. So what I mean by that is there's conservatives out there, but they're concerned with being cool, even with the Hollywood types and all that, and they're not really talking about these issues or when they do things. So for example, it's like Truth Social, let's say, that's started by Trump and all that. I'm on there. It's crazy. It's not effective. It's not done in the right way. And it's to me, a massive echo chamber. It's the same thing like with Kanye West recently. It came out that he's buying Parler. Parler's crap. If he's gonna go buy into something, why would you buy Parler that's crap? We need to do better. And that's where I think we're missing out, because we're focusing on certain things that even folks on our side are getting sick and tired of hearing from conservative Hollywood. If I look at news, I can only look at Fox News, but I can't even stand that because they're sticking to the same things.
It's pretty terrible too.
Yeah, they're sticking to the same things over and over again, and they're not really focusing on this stuff.
It's actually interesting to me too, because you talk about the Hollywood conservative. You see that all the time, where somebody will start talking about a topic, but then they'll get labeled as an extremist, or like, "Ooh, that's crazy! How dare you talk about that? That's too far out there. How dare you?" And then people will wimp out, and in order to placate people that hate them, they'll stop talking about what needs to be talked about. And I think, honestly, all of us, we need to pick the stuff that we're passionate about. Like, guns is my area of politics. That's the area I know the most about.
Right.
I mean, I know about other stuff, but that's the one that I'm the expert on. I mean, I love that stuff. It's my life. And so, by golly, if I should go out there and I should be able to take my knowledge and my passion on that subject and apply it. And so if you're a conservative or anything other than liberal and you're passionate about some other topic, then by golly, you should be out there talking about it. And I'm glad to see that we're seeing a lot of parents now, like sorry, one of the other topics is like the whole school thing with what kids are being taught in school. But you're seeing kids, especially like you're in Florida, Virginia, you got all these parents that like during COVID were paying attention for the first time what their kids are getting taught, and they freaked out.
Crazy stuff. Yeah.
And that's good though, because you got these people that are actually passionate about that subject. And they know about, and they learned about it, and they're fighting for it. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to see that in every aspect of life. Pick the stuff that you know a lot about, and go out there and fight for it, and talk, and be brave, and sway people.
Yeah. I think this is a lot like Alex Jones, right? I don't agree with everything that Alex Jones says. I don't think we should all agree. But I think that we should at least let people say what they have to say. If you don't want to listen to it, don't listen to it. But it can't hurt you to listen to what people have to say and then evaluate for yourself whether or not there's merit in it. Once we shut down people's conversations and their points of view, that's how we wind up here.
Yeah, like I'm not an Alex Jones fan at all. I think the guy's kind of nuts. But here's the thing: he still has First Amendment rights, and so if he's charged with libel. If he's charged with libel and slander, he should still get a fair trial. And even if he's guilty of libel or slander in a court of law, which I don't know, I didn't follow that case. There's no way in the world it should be $1 billion.
$1 billion.
I mean, you think about it. There's like literally mega corporations that throw toxic waste in rivers and kill people, and like they have to evacuate cities. And they don't pay $1 billion in fines.
And because he questioned something, I don't agree with what Alex Jones was questioning, right? And some people do, some people don't. But it's one of the things that he said. And if you look at a lot of stuff, I always tell people the things that he's saying, mostly, if they're not true now, some of those things we find out later. Oh, wait a second. Something like this actually happened or was going on.
There's a lot of stuff, like if you can't immediately shut down something as being, like some of the stuff that just doesn't pass the, I'm a former auditor, some stuff just doesn't pass the smell test. It's just crazy. And some people still have the right to say that. That's fine. But there's other stuff that like were not as crazy conspiracy theories that turned out to be true. Hunter Biden's laptop. I got kicked off the internet for talking about Hunter Biden's laptop right before the election. I got banned from everything.
Right, yeah, I saw that.
If you remember that, and it turned out that was 100% accurate and true.
Right.
I mean, a whole bunch of stuff during COVID that people said that they got dismissed as wacky conspiracy theorists. A year later, the CDC is like, oh, yeah, that's true. Sorry we silenced you, and sorry you were booted off of social media.
Yeah, it's coming out now, I think. I don't have the news. I could pull it up. But I believe that a Boston University came up with a even more potent form of COVID that's 80% stronger.
I saw that, and I'm like, why? What the hell are you doing?
That's Lola is a pharmacist. That was her first question, like, why is this happening? Because these people are crazy. Here, let's see. More lethal strain of COVID created in Boston University lab, researchers say. Researchers at a Boston University say they have developed a new COVID strain that has an 80% kill rate. Following a series of similar experiments first thought to have started the global pandemic that began in China. That makes sense. I mean, you know, and so this is the thing, like, about Alex Jones and all that kind of stuff. There's lots of people. Maybe Enquirer magazine shouldn't exist because they're talking about aliens. Oh, wait a second. I think we're admitting now somewhere in the government that there's UFOs.
Yeah, except, I mean, you got F-18 gun camera footage of some really weird stuff.
Right. You know, we have to allow this stuff to go on. And I understand if let's say with what's happening with Alex Jones, that there's these parents who are really upset about it. I get that. But $1 billion and deplatforming Alex Jones and us thinking that that's okay to deplatform Alex Jones just doesn't make any kind of sense. And the same people who would say, let's say we're talking about saving the planet, and there's folks out there saying that, you know, people who think, hey, we don't need to be that crazy about saving the planet, are denying science, are the same people to say, oh, if you just put this mask on your face, you're totally safe.
Yeah, it's really interesting how the whole fake news thing, disinformation thing goes one direction. You never see that somebody from CNN or MSNBC or NPR or the New York Times is busted for disinformation. They're never censored. They can write whatever they want. Doesn't matter how fake it is. I mean, you remember that we had 4 years of Donald Trump Russian collusion, which turned out to be utter and total crap, a completely fabricated lie for political purposes.
The weird thing is they can't convict anyone. The second guy got off today. No conviction.
Yeah, the Durham probe was the weakest bunch of crap ever. I mean, it's like, so you got a bunch of scumbags investigating other scumbags, giving their scumbag buddies a pass, and America watches all this. We know what's going on, and so it's like anybody on the right can get busted for disinformation, even when it's not. Like I said, I can get kicked off the internet for talking about Hunter Biden's laptop, yet MSNBC can come and say that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation, and so to pay no attention to that before the election. It's all fake. Where's their penalty for misinformation? Where's their penalty for being fake news? There won't be one. No. The system is totally, completely rigged. So whatever somebody on the left needs to do to promote whatever the leftist stuff is at this time, they just get a pass. They can lie their asses off, and there's no penalty. I saw Gavin Newsom today from California, governor of California, piece of crap, had some tweet about how red states, they say blue states are violent, but red states they say the Democrats aren't good on crime. But
this is some kind of political judo.
Yeah, because he's like, if you look at red states, they're more violent if you look at the crime rate. Well, and the reason you get that is you have, like, Missouri has St. Louis in it. St. Louis is not exactly Trump town, okay? St. Louis is not deep red country. And it's, or you got New Orleans, or you've got whatever it is. You got a red state with a big blue city in it, and the big blue city has crazy crime in it. So who do they blame? Oh, we elected a Republican governor 2 years ago, so clearly it's the fault of the Republicans. And Gavin Newsom is like, dude, I mean, you were mayor of San Francisco, okay? I grew up next to San Francisco. It used to be a nice city. I mean, I'm from the San Joaquin Valley. I'm from the other side of the mountains.
Yeah.
It used to be
Wikipedia says you used to be a farmer. Is that true? I don't know if you look at Wikipedia.
I grew up on a dairy farm in El Nido, California. Yeah, I milk cows most of my life.
That's awesome.
That's probably how I wound up the way I am. Is
that how you got the big bones?
Oh, dude, I drank a lot of milk. We had all you could drink milk and all you could eat beef.
Right, I'm telling you, that'll do it.
I mean, I still have really strong hands. I mean, when I was a kid, I could crush stone with these, but not so much anymore. I'm old.
Yeah.
But I tell you, no matter what I've done in my life, it's been easier than milking cows.
Yeah, farm life is not easy. I live out in farm country, where I live here, and you see those signs, beef, it's what's for dinner. That's what you see around here on the pickup trucks
Oh,
where I
heck
live.
yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. Never gonna
Yeah,
starve. This will survive. This place will survive the apocalypse.
yeah. I live in the mountains of northern Utah now, but I live in the farm country. So I'm up in the mountains in a mountain valley, and it's all just farming and a lot
Yeah,
of beef cows and stuff. It's awesome. I love living around a bunch of farmers.
yeah. So
They're
while
practical people.
yes, absolutely, man. Country, man. That's where it is. Get out of the cities. I don't know if you think there's going to be an apocalypse or not. I've got friends that are 50-50. Some people actually waiting, praying, hoping that there's an apocalypse. And there's obviously I think we're going to have a downturn. I think things are going to get rough. You can't do all this craziness in America, but I don't think it's end of days. Where are you on that?
I don't know. That's so hard to predict. I think it depends on predicting the actions of really stupid people with a lot of power. You know, I mean, our president's a demented sock puppet, so I'm not really, placing any bets on how it's going to shake out.
Right, right.
I hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
Hmm.
Would be what I'd say. I believe in having a stockpile of food, water, and ammunition.
Yeah. America's a tough country to go to hell, I think, because I know people who think America's going to hell, and I have friends who are maybe getting out of America. But the thing I'll say is, look, America survived the Great Depression, and America's a breadbasket, and it's a very diverse place. So not just because we're here, but I think that it just naturally it's set up to be one of those places that can bounce back easily. Are we going to have trouble? Sure, but that's
Yeah.
that's the way of the world,
I think
right?
I think if we do have a real downturn, and that could go a million different ways. And I don't want to talk about revolution, which is possible,
Hmm.
but I would much rather live in the mountains of northern Utah than in like Los Angeles
Hmm.
if
Yeah.
stuff gets really weird.
Yeah. Now, so you're in Utah. You've said that several times.
I love it out here.
Yes, I go through Utah sometimes. I may be going through there. I'm heading out to California to do some van stuff. Later, like I think next week or something. Um, are you allowed to talk about Mitt Romney? What's your
Oh
what's your?
man, I hate that. I hate him so much. I cannot stand Mitt Romney.
Hmm.
That guy is. My daughter refers to him as a Ziploc bag of hair gel in human form.
Oh
He
boy! Wow.
he
Yeah.
he is that spineless. Like the man has no vertebrae whatsoever. He talks about being a man of principle, but his principles are whatever he feels like at that moment.
Hmm. Yeah.
Can't
Yeah.
stand him.
Yeah. We're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna come back and talk about that a little bit more, and the book. We're gonna get into the book. With Armslist, you can shop the extensive list of local and nationwide firearms classified, now with more confidence because of their built-in firewall. For only $6.99 a month for personal use, or $30 a month for business vendors, so when you're in the market, please consider Armslist. We wouldn't be able to keep the Who Moved My Freedom podcast going without the support of great companies like Armslist. Yeah, to me, I feel like Mitt Romney's gotten worse and worse over the years. But I really think that Trump becoming president just like triggered Mitt Romney so hardcore that he just
Yeah.
lost whatever veil of sanity or
Yeah.
conservatism or whatever it was he had, man. It just went away.
Yeah, he's my senator, and it bugged me because when he ran for president, it was against Barack Obama, who
Hmm.
hates guns.
Hmm.
So I campaigned for Mitt Romney.
I voted for him.
Uh,
I voted for him.
yeah,
So, hmm.
and then he became senator of Utah and has sucked. And it's interesting too because the thing with like he got really unhinged over Trump because Trump won where he lost. But Moore is really interesting because he plays this big I'm a man of principle and Trump is uncouth and barbaric and I'm so stately. Except remember Mitt Romney tried to be Trump's Secretary of State
Hmm.
and Trump didn't hire him. Trump hired somebody else.
Hmm.
Mitt Romney took that personal.
Yeah, he's like
Okay,
a
so
bitter ex-girlfriend kind of thing.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that whole thing about how, well, I don't like Trump because I'm so principled. Yeah, you weren't too principled when you wanted to be Secretary of State. Now, were you, buddy?
Hmm. Hmm.
And I mean, I know members of Mitt Romney's family because my old business I used to be in, Actually, I wound up working with some of his nephews.
Okay.
And I don't think. I think the thing about Mitt Romney is he's just a prideful dude, but he's so up in his pride that he doesn't even realize he's prideful. He just assumes whatever he does is the right thing, which is total crap. Yeah, and as a senator, he is such a squish and such a letdown.
Well,
And I am so excited for him to get primaried.
Yeah, he's not thinking about his constituents either.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah, there's races running out there that he's not even supporting the Republican that's running. He's not even.
Yeah, it's Mike Lee. Mike is our other senator. Mike Lee is great on a lot of. I agree with Mike Lee more than most most politicians by far. I disagree with him on some stuff, but overall, I think he does actually believe in the Constitution above all else. And Mike Lee is really pro-gun and pro-business and does a pretty good job. Not always, but pretty good job. And he's up against this guy who's a grifter scumbag named Evan McMullin. And McMullin I refer to him as Utah Beto. He's just Beto O'Rourke for Utah.
Yeah, that's your hashtag Utah Beto. That's what.
Yeah, I've been using that a lot. I can't. Evan McMullin is the third-party candidate who ran against Trump to try, basically on behalf of Hillary Clinton, to try to deprive Trump of votes, and total con artist. And he's an independent, but our Democrats aren't even running a Senate candidate because the Democrats are all just voting for him because he's just a Democrat, and everybody knows he's a Democrat, but he's pretending to be this independent. And it's funny, when polling shows that he needs a family appears. So when polling shows that he needs to be seen as religious, he starts putting up pictures of him at BYU going to games. I mean, the guy is just the guy is just, he's not even a person, he's just a product. He's
politicians,
like a manufactured product. Yeah.
We've got Charlie Crist. I mean, I don't know if you could get worse than Charlie Crist.
Charlie Crist is such a goober.
So I know there's people in here saying stuff about Mitt Romney. How can Utah get rid of Mitt Romney, man? What can we do to shift that guy out of there?
Okay, so he's still in his first term. So he's still, and so people act like we've reelected him. No, we've not reelected him yet. Thank goodness. Next primary, the theory here in Utah is that we have a guy. Our attorney general is a guy named Sean Reyes, and Reyes is legit. For everything I've seen of Reyes, he puts his money where his mouth is. Like he had Utah join the Texas lawsuit after the 2020 elections. That kind of thing. So he's pretty hardcore. And Reyes is popular too. And so it sounds like Reyes is going to primary Romney for his seat. So my theory is that Romney's going to retire. And why I think he'll retire is I don't think he wants to lose again. And I also think because right now he's powerful and important because we have a 50-50 Senate. So basically the Republicans have to kiss his butt to get his vote. But once we have like 52-48 or 54, fingers crossed.
Please. Knock on wood.
But once it's no longer a tied Senate, then Mitt Romney doesn't matter anymore. He's not important anymore. And I don't think his ego can handle that. So I figure if he's facing a strong primary challenger, he'll be out. Otherwise, we're just going to beat him. I think he is pretty much despised by most of the actual conservatives in Utah. He actually has a higher approval rating amongst our Democrats than our Republicans.
Wow. Okay. So he's either going to switch parties, run for president, or something like that. He'll run for president again, maybe. Yeah,
he might, but I doubt it. I don't think his ego could take another loss. I figure my bet's retire because he's getting pretty old too. He's 70 something.
Yeah. I remember.
But I just say I hope he leaves.
Yeah. Mitt Romney. Okay, so listen, let's talk about the book here, In Defense of the Second Amendment. Here, I'm going to throw it up on here. How did this book come around? It's not published yet. It's available for pre-order for folks who want to do that. You can go to, there's a whole bunch of different places you can go to. I think Lola has a link to this on Amazon, right? What is this book? How did it come about? Give us the skinny on that.
Okay, so what happened was, this is my first nonfiction book, but I know this fella who's an editor at a publishing house that does nonfiction political books, and this was because the Bruin versus New York Supreme Court decision was coming up. And so
Okay.
gun rights was in the news again. And the way nonfiction publishing works is they strike while the iron's hot. They write about topical things that are in the news. They try to get the books out very quickly. And so they went and they had a meeting and they said, who do we know that could write a really persuasive defense of the Second Amendment book really quickly?
Right.
And so this one editor he worked with me back when I was a fiction guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes, oh, I know a guy.
Yeah, I know a guy who is crazy, writes all the time, is definitely a Second Amendment dude.
Yeah, I'm a Second Amendment absolutist, and
Yeah.
I've been involved in this world for 30 years now. I've been doing Second Amendment stuff, and so I wrote the book actually very quickly. And the hard part was doing the research to make sure all the sites and numbers and stuff were correct. But no, this is a passion project. This is something I'm very excited about. I just basically several years ago I wrote actually 2012 I wrote this opinion on gun control is what it was called, and it went super viral blog post. Millions of people read it, and it was just basically me articulating all the things that are wrong with gun control and why it doesn't work in real life. Mm-hmm. And that went super viral. So I already had a reputation to be able to write gun stuff. And so I had a chance to do this book, and this book is just basically my defense of the Second Amendment, why it matters, why it's important, why gun control is stupid, and what we as gun people, what we can do proactively to defend our rights, to expand our rights, to bring more people, into understanding the Second Amendment, to expand the culture, and so this is kind of a project that I was really excited about. And like I said, coming out in January, and it's already a bestseller based upon just the pre-orders alone. The pre-orders off this have been nuts. So the New York Times bestseller list hates me. And so I'm hoping this has good enough numbers.
Can we break them?
Obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Them? Yeah, what number do you have to get to? We could do it.
Well, the thing is, I've been on there before. My fiction used to make it all the time, and then they found out what my politics were, and I haven't been on there since, even though my sales have gone up. Mm-hmm. And so my goal with this book is that either it's really obvious it should be on there and they don't put it on there, and then I'll use that for marketing purposes because everybody hates the New York Times, or they have to put me on there and see my name on their stupid newspaper again.
Yeah. Well, I think that, hopefully, I can't speak for everyone else in the Second Amendment community, but this is something that the Second Amendment community should mobilize for, right? This is a book that is literally in defense of the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
So,
one of the things I set out to do, and one of the things I'm pretty good at as far as political arguing is I'm pretty good at articulating the ideas that other people have, but they can't express. So it's what I mean by that is like people, they know what they believe and they know why they believe it, but they have a hard time explaining that persuasively in an argument. And so I go through basically every single argument, like typical argument I could think of that the gun control people use, every line of attack they use. I go through basically how to respond to each of these. And it's not about convincing the anti-gun people because, the willfully ignorant are really hard to sway.
Right.
But you do it for the audience. You do it for the regular people that are watching this stuff. So, if you're at work and you're having this debate with the hardcore gun grabber, you're not arguing to sway them. You're arguing for your coworkers. If you're having this argument with your family and you got that aunt that like hates guns, you're not arguing against her. You're arguing for the kids.
Yeah.
You're basically so I go into that a little bit of that and kind of the psychology of it, but because I always like to say internet arguing is a spectator sport. And that's really what we're talking about here. And so I go through all the arguments, all the gun laws. I go into stuff that's old, that's been around forever, that we still hear like a million times. Like you're 43 times more likely to get killed by a gun in the home than shoot a burglar.
Or your own gun, which is a myth that's pushed out there by movies. Like someone will beat you up, take your own gun away from you.
Oh yeah, I talk about that. They use that. They like to use that one on women a lot. I've seen that all the time. It's like, well, if you have a gun, the bad guy will just take it away from you. And I actually quote a gun writer that I know named Tamara Keel, where she says, if that happens, that's when you pull the felon repulsion lever. you know.
Yeah,
And
exactly. You know,
and so yeah, I go into a lot, and I go into
you.
because they always like to
Mhm,
compare us to other countries and that kind of thing. We go into that too, and how that's
mhm.
basically nonsense and apples and oranges. But it's a really good book, and I really hope it makes a difference.
Yeah, and you wrote this in what, about 45 days?
Yeah, actually, the most of the writing was done in 1 month.
Okay.
And then the next couple of weeks were just like making sure that all my facts were exactly right.
Hmm.
Everything is cited. Um, Everything is footnoted. Every chapter has tons of footnotes.
Hmm.
Basically, if I say something, it's like we can defend it.
Mm.
So when I pick apart other people's arguments, I'll go through the stats, I'll go through the reality, I'll cite cases, whether they're legal cases or like various shootings.
Hmm.
Um, I go into a lot because one of the things I've pushed for a long time is guns in school, allowing concealed carry in schools in order to prevent school shootings.
Hmm.
And we've seen that it works. We
Hmm.
have many, many, many cases where it works. And we have seen places where they ban it, where there's no line of defense. I go into the mass shooting and the psychology of mass shooters. I go into a bunch of them and how they work, and what almost always stops them is a violent response. Uh,
Absolutely.
and so either that violent response is going to be fast or it's going to be slow.
Hmm.
And it's all about the logistics of how many people you have carrying guns nearby.
Yeah.
Whether the responder is a citizen or a cop, it doesn't matter. What matters is getting there quick.
Hmm.
And the faster they shut the bad guy down, the less people die.
Yeah.
That's it.
The better
Period.
for society. Look at the Parkland case. It's not even really complete yet, and it's been several years here. And the funny thing about it is, and there's been some, real angst about this in Florida because this guy just got life in prison. He didn't get the death penalty in Florida because the jurors just couldn't get their act together and give the death penalty to him. So now the people of Florida have to support this horrible human being for the rest of his life, which could theoretically be a long time. And someone could have, ended that right there on the scene and saved lives. And people need
Yeah.
to think about that. Florida actually went from being the gunshine state to putting gun laws in effect, and that was Republicans.
Yep.
I hold them to bear for that all the time. That was Republicans that put gun laws into effect here in Florida because of that. And here we are still. It was not the solution. The solution is at that point when someone goes evil and decides to destroy other people, that person needs to be destroyed.
Yeah, I talk about in the book a lot. Immediate violent response is
Hmm.
the best thing to have.
Yeah.
The gun controllers always want some sort of utopian scam that will prevent the bad guy from being bad to begin with.
Hmm.
Except that doesn't work. Bad people are going to be bad. Um, we see it all the time.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter what you do; they're still going to. Evil men are going to do evil,
Yeah.
and then it really becomes a question of responding to them.
Hmm.
Um, and
And
so I've been a proponent of the guns and schools thing
when
forever.
they know they're going to get famous and then they're just going to get locked up forever and people
Hmm.
are going to have to take care of them. I mean, it was like
Yeah.
heart-wrenching to see the parents, talking about it, and I
Well,
think
even
people need
putting
to.
that guy back in the news again and sparing
Hmm.
his life, putting him back in the news
Hmm.
promotes that kind of behavior to other guys that are wired the same way.
Hmm.
I've actually got a chapter in the book about that where I think the greatest single problem we have is actually media coverage.
Hmm.
It's making these guys into superstars. It's making them into rock stars.
Hmm.
And so you got a guy who's a disaffected loser scumbag. He's got no life. He's got nothing going for him. He hates the world. He hates everyone around him. He hates society. And the news shows him that, hey, if you do this certain kind of crime, we're going to make you a superstar. You'll be the most famous person in the world for a week. The
Hmm.
president of the United States will stop and talk about you. You'll be
Hmm.
on social media. If you got a
Yeah.
manifesto, we'll print your manifesto. We'll put you on TV. We'll put you on the cover of Rolling Stone. And and then
Yeah.
then they do it, And it's funny because the news even tells them. The news tells them where to hit, who to hit, and what gun to use. Because it's all about this. These guys aren't stupid. They're
It's
evil,
disgusting.
but they're not
Yeah.
low IQ. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of these guys are pretty smart. They're screwed up, but they're not dumb. And so the news shows them, hey, we're going to reward you and we're going to give you everything you desire and we're going to make you famous and you can pay back everyone you've ever hated. And so, yeah, I go into that in the book because that part really makes me angry.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes me viscerally angry.
Yeah, me too. I hope folks in the gun community and elsewhere will pay attention to this and help you out. I know there are writers in the gun community already. We've had them on here. Those are good folks. People should support them as well. Larry Correia is one of our guys. He's one of our guys. Died in the wall. Like, that's the point I'm trying to make with this episode, you know. I know when I have authors come on the show, a lot of the gun guys aren't as excited because it's not the president of this gun company or this, you know, really cool gun guy that they love or whatever it is. But I know this, that you are a gun guy and you're out there. I mean, I follow you on Twitter, man. I see you, you know, fighting the good fight, and I'm happy that you were able to get this book out there, and I hope people support it. Tell us again, when is it coming out? How can people get their hands on it?
It's going to be coming out in January. It's called In Defense of the Second Amendment. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, basically everywhere books are sold. If you pre-order it, that actually helps me a lot because all pre-order sales count as release week sales, which spikes it on the bestseller lists.
Okay, awesome. There you go. And when what we'll do is we'll get our hands on that book and we'll put it out there and try to help you as much as we can with it. Hopefully,
yeah, I'll make sure when I get hard copy review copies, I can send you one.
Okay. So I don't know if there's any questions out there from people. I'm trying to see if there's any questions from the folks out there. You know, with the time that we do have, man, the shooting in Uvalde, it brings back a lot of what you're talking about here. You know, that parents and folks who were trying to get in there and put a stop to this guy, or at least get their kids out of there and all that, were stopped. And it just, you know, every time things like this happen and I talk to the regular folks out there, they don't go, they don't tell me they want to get rid of guns or not have guns. They're like, how can I have a gun so that I can defend myself when that moment comes to me? Yeah,
I'll tell you that Uvalde made me so angry. And in fact, this book, the publishing house has lawyers go through the book anytime there's a nonfiction book, they have lawyers go through to make sure you don't say anything that's libelous. The one thing that I had to remove the most of was talking about how bad Uvalde did, about how awful they were, and what a complete and utter worst failure in the history of American law enforcement. They maybe actually change a few things in there just to keep from getting sued because there hasn't been a court case yet.
Yeah,
but it's just
it's going to take a long time for that. Yeah, it's going to take a long time for us
failure.
to truly know. Yeah, really.
And then
horrible.
You got Eli Dicken by himself outperformed the entire police department.
Yeah, we're going to take a break. We're coming right back.
We wouldn't be able to keep the Who Moved My Freedom podcast going without the support of a DAO, or decentralized autonomous organization like TUSC Crypto. TUSC cryptocurrency is a firearm-friendly e-commerce option for online payment transactions, secured on the blockchain. So when you're in the crypto market, please consider TUSC, TUSC.
All right, Larry, so here is a question from Night Train. Night Train says, can you ask Larry what his personal carry gun is these days? So, which is a good segue into us talking about guns. So, go for it.
Okay, so actually I brought it. And once again, showing it's clear here. This is a Beretta LTT RDO, so it's the Langdon Tactical Beretta. I run it with a mod light from a Filster floodlight and
That's
with an
sexy.
RMR.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is actually my daily carry gun. I switched to appendix about 2 years ago, and so I figured learning appendix, I wanted to go double action. Plus, I hadn't shot double action for a few years, and so I got this, and it's been wonderful. Langdon makes, Langdon, the trigger on this thing is nuts. It's a 6-pound double action with a 3-pound single.
Okay, wow.
It rocks. So I'm actually, so this is my daily carry.
Yeah.
I'm a big dude. I'm 6'5", so I don't really carry small guns.
Right.
Like I've got a Sig 365 that I really enjoy, but
Okay.
I mean I can't.
Yeah, look at those
shoot.
hands, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
can't shoot little tiny guns to save my life.
Yeah.
And then my stupid human tricks gun, my gun that I'm using for like coin chasing, basically, in classes and whatnot, is I use a Sig 320 Spectre Comp. I run the Trijicon SRO, and once again, I run it from a floodlight. I mean, that's floodlight's what I work with, the filter floodlight, and I run the Surefire on that. This thing is kind of amazing, actually. This thing shoots phenomenally well.
So you're a fan of the 320?
I am, yeah. Well, this is the one. I have a couple, but this is the only one that I got. I got about 3,000 rounds through it now. I've put up a bunch of videos of me shooting. I did a couple personal bests on this. I used to be a 2011 guy. It was my primary thing, but I've actually been doing with just kind of ease of maintenance and ease of optics mounting. I've been using this, but I ran a 4.77 fast drill the other day, and I ran a 5.43 test with no name clean with this thing. So.
Wow.
The gun will do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's very nice. And you're not necessarily, are you into the 320, like the fact that you can, the modularity of it and all that kind of stuff, or?
I've not messed with that much yet,
Okay.
but I was actually maybe planning a project for later on this year, trying to build something just completely wonky. I was going to take a Spectre Comp top end and then do a lighter weight lower. I was going to do a Gray Guns trigger, and actually Bruce Gray is working on some cool stuff for that. He's a great gunsmith, by the way, and so I think I was going to set up a Gray Guns lighter weight carry gun, because that Beretta is awesome, but it's also like 34 ounces or something.
Right. There's a couple of things in there. So the Beretta, what kind of holster do you have for that?
I usually do the Filster floodlight, and so the Filster, it's the appendix rig, and actually I'll show you. I cheat because I'm a fat guy. I actually glue Dr. Scholl's gel inserts.
Oh wow, that's
the inside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold that up to the camera again. This is interesting, Larry. I have never seen this. If any of you guys have seen this before, let me know. This is a top tip.
Yeah, that is a Dr. Scholl's gel insert super glued onto the in.
Wow.
And
okay.
the thing is,
there you go. That's
well,
new.
because I like Kydex holsters for they're pretty rugged and adjustable and whatnot. But I hate having plastic rub on me, especially when I'm doing anything physical.
Yeah.
Or driving, when you're driving for a long time and you get those hot spots on your appendix holster, And so I'm a big proponent of gluing Dr. Scholl's or foam onto my holsters.
Oh, that's a good idea. I never thought of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the cool thing about the Dr. Scholl's, I actually got this trick from Annette Evans, who is a great competition shooter, used to shoot for Team SIG. If you use the Dr. Scholl's, if you wear an undershirt, it doesn't come untucked when you're drawing and holstering a whole bunch. Like if you're doing like a whole bunch of repetitions from the holster at the range, doing drills or whatever, and it's hot day, you're not untucking your undershirt and putting it in your holster.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, on that, I got a tip from some of my friends in law enforcement. They wear the moisture wicking undershirts, when they're doing that kind of stuff. And funny enough, I started doing it, and I noticed when it gets hot and sweaty and you have moisture wicking on, you actually do better. Because it's keeping all that moisture from escaping your body, and by creating the barrier and all that. But then you can have that as like what you're saying is that that layer between your skin.
Yeah, you're not untucking it because you're going like this 1,000 times a day.
Yeah.
Well, because you go to some of I swear, every time you do a shooting class, the weather sucks.
Always.
That's like guaranteed. I love going to gun school.
Yeah.
I actually host, because of my house here, I have a range. I have my own pistol range at my house.
Okay.
And
soft
so I actually
flex, subtle flex right there from Larry.
Well, I live in the country.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
I live in the
Me
country.
too.
Land used to be cheap.
Right.
And no, so I actually host. I host once a year. I have Citizens Defense Research comes out to my house and does a couple pistol classes here, which is pretty awesome. But inevitably, every time I do a pistol class, it's hot.
Yeah, I think when I saw you years ago, you were telling me that like you just got a place and you're putting a range on there. I can't remember I think you had like a nice distance on there too.
Yeah, well, worked out where I had to put the road.
Mhm.
Basically, I have to shut the place down if I want to like shoot rifles,
Mhm.
because I have to shoot across my driveway, so I can only
Right.
do it like when I'm in, you know. But so I have a wonderful pistol range that I could do pretty much
Right.
whatever I want at. But
Yeah.
if I want to get out to like 100, 200 yards, then
Yeah.
basically I'm out of luck unless I shut the place
Right.
down.
I'm that dude
And
that
my
would
wife
put.
gets mad at me.
Right. I would put some fake cars down in that driveway and practice shooting on that road. Trust me. That's good. That's good
Yeah,
drilling.
I'm actually putting in a gate at the bottom.
Mhm.
This is gonna sound, we're putting cows here,
Uh-huh.
and I need a gate anywhere to keep them from wandering out in the road. But the cows, eat the grass and keep it from catching on fire.
Right.
But when I
Nice.
shut the gate, no one will be able
Uh-huh.
to drive up and surprise me, so I'll be able to
Right.
shoot rifles more often.
Yep. Yep. There will always be a 50 trained on that road, just in case anyone is wondering
Oh
about
yeah.
it. Let me
Oh,
get
since
some.
we're
Mhm. Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. Oh no, I brought all sorts of weird guns too. The stuff
Yeah.
I'm having fun with right now.
Yeah,
If you want.
we're gonna show some guns here. We got some questions. 42 Chilled said nice. That's a comment. Gen Champ Senior said what caliber? So what caliber are those two guns that you just showed us? Nine.
Both of those are 9mm. So my
Okay.
basically my carry guns and my training guns are all 9mm because I can buy it in bulk.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Right answer.
Pretty
That's
much
me. 9 is the right millimeter, and now everyone's gonna you're gonna get 10mm for everyone's gonna chime in right now.
I do have my 10 here.
Right, exactly. Okay, there's gonna be some happy people. Let's see. DCG44 says love Langdon tactical guns. Let's say, and Shelly Fungus wants to know if you're in Cali. I would say decidedly not, but go ahead. You can answer that one.
Grew up there. I
Yeah.
grew up there, but no, I have not lived there since 1993. I've lived in Utah, so
Yeah.
this is my 10mm. It's the STI
Wow.
20. Back when before it was Staccato, so that's STI. But these
Oh.
guys are actually huge Monster Hunter fans, so they made this custom for
Yeah.
me.
MHI.
Yep, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty cool. And Sick Transit Gloria Mundi, and this thing is ridiculous.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
And the trigger pull on it is nuts. It is the lightest, shortest reset trigger I have ever tried. This thing is amazeballs.
Oh,
So yeah,
that's very cool.
So I do have a 10mm. I also like 10mm,
Mm-hmm.
but I just don't shoot it nearly as much because it's just it's like buying another gun every time you buy a couple boxes of ammo.
Yeah. These days, if I could go back in that time machine, I would buy way more ammo. I would put all my money
Yeah.
into ammo.
Oh
There-
man, I would have
There'll
bought
be some
308
cars
battle
I would have
packs.
never. Yeah, there'll be some cars I would have never bought. I would have just bought ammo and then bought the cars later when everyone's selling that ammo for lots of
Yeah,
money.
back when I was shooting 3-gun, they had He-Man class
Mm-hmm.
or heavy metal, and so I was shooting South African 308 for like 15 cents a round or
Mm-hmm.
17 cents a round. Oh, how I wish I knew now what I knew then, or how I wish I knew then what I knew now.
Yeah, it's like the dudes. I always have this conversation with gun guys who tell me, I remember when an AK was $75, which I know is not technically true. I think that was an AK kit according to Walter from Safety Harbor Firearms. But you ain't never gonna see. We'll never see those days.
Nope.
We're never.
They're gone.
I don't care what apocalypse happens. In the apocalypse, an AK still won't be $75. It's gonna be like 4 bars of gold. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got my first SKS for like $65 in college, and I sold it.
wow. Yeah. Do you have any AKs?
I do. I didn't bring any upstairs, but I
Okay.
actually, I actually was a big Vepr fan back in the day. I ran a Vepr and 3-gun for 1 year just to be an obstinate weirdo. I was the one guy out there with an AK while everybody else was running an AR. But I like the old Vepr Ks were great guns. Those things ran fantastic. Shot actually pretty dang good groups for an AK.
Oh, okay, cool. Let me show off some
Oh.
guns. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I saw your video that you did the other day with PSA where they were doing the AK that takes AR mags.
Oh yes, yeah. I
That
don't
was
have.
pretty trick.
Yeah, that is very cool. I don't have one here. I'm waiting for those. I think those are out now, but I don't have one of them. But I do have a bunch of PSA stuff. Funny enough. So here's my AKV, 9mm, right here from PSA.
Yeah.
Do you so you've got some PSA guns?
Oh yeah, I mean, I like PSA because I think my son likes to build AR. I have a teenage boy, and his hobby is building ARs.
Oh, cool.
And so I actually buy a lot of Blem part kits.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. And PSA has good deals going on. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sign up for that. Sign up for that mailing list, and like every couple months, I'm like, oh crap, I have to buy all that.
Yeah. You know what, Larry? I suggest you go and use Lola's deals because we have an affiliate. I would like to get some, Larry Correia buying some PSA stuff through my affiliate link.
I'll do that. No problem.
I'm gonna tell Lola to send you that link. So check it out.
I will gladly do it.
Oh, I appreciate it. So check it out. This is the Jackal from PSA 5.56. I'm waiting for the 300 blackout version, but this is really cool. And it's light too compared to a lot of things out there. And this is like they completely went back to the drawing board with this, side charging, all that kind of stuff. Piston setup in here so that you can put. One of these days, this is going to become a machine gun, but right now it's legal. I guess. I don't know. But we're waiting for the ATF to tell us some things.
Yeah, we'll see next month how that goes. But,
yeah, right, exactly.
That Jackal is, from everything I've seen on that Jackal, that thing is pretty wicked. I mean, every review I've seen makes it sound like a great gun.
Yeah, it's really cool, and we're gonna do some videos of this one, but I've done a lot of stuff with pre-production and all that kind of stuff. I think that PSA did a really good job with this, and I'm looking forward to them adding on to this, right? So they're going to do 300 blackout, do some other calibers. There's folks out there who want to see the full-length versions. I personally would be looking forward to integrally suppressed. You got any integrally suppressed rifles, Larry?
I have one downstairs I didn't bring up. Actually two. Never mind. I have two.
Integrally suppressed is awesome. I'm a big fan. I want to see what calibers do you have?
1.556 and 1.22.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, the 22 I did the little breakdown backpacker Ruger with the Gym Tech barrel, which is just the greatest gun in the history of the world for teaching little kids.
Oh yeah,
that thing
22s.
That's such a hoot.
Yeah, 22s are awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I just threw a red dot on there and kids go nuts. That thing is amazing.
Yeah, 22s are awesome. I was shooting a 22 today at some squirrels. I didn't hit them, but I have a little 22. Squirrels are so annoying to me here, man. Squirrels are costing me money. This is one of the things about living in the country. And I heard this weird noise at my back door, and I knew it wasn't someone trying to come. I home carry. I don't know about you, but I home carry. Mm-hmm. So, but I was like, what is a squirrel doing? That's what I thought it was, a squirrel. So I went and got my, I have like a little Smith & Wesson 22 pistol. I've got a can on it and everything. It's always set up with magazines. And I went out there, he was trying to chew through something on the light right above my back door. So I opened the door and he's running and I'm shooting. I hit the tree, but I'm going to get him. There's so many squirrels here. They've caused me a lot of trouble. They chew through the wires on my car, all kinds of stuff. They're annoying.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I got coyotes, and I had a cougar in my yard about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
That was actually kind of exciting because you don't see those very often. That's I mean, they're there, but I actually saw it across the field, and I was like, whoa. Because, I've lived in Utah for 30 or 20-something years, and that's the first time I've seen a cougar.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So we've have coyotes here, and I see them from time to time. It's never when I have, like my 300 blackout or something in my hands. But I've started seeing a fox. And when I first moved to this property, there was nothing here. And my neighbor was on the property when I was coming through with a real estate agent. And we were like, what are you doing here? And he was like, oh, there's a fox over here. I'm trying to find him because he's eating my chickens. And I was like, a fox in Florida? This can't be. a real thing, but it's real. We've seen these foxes a lot lately, and they're just red. They stand out. And I used to have a dog. Don't have a dog anymore. Otherwise, I wouldn't see him.
Yeah, we see foxes. I've seen one bobcat up here once. That was actually pretty cool. Badgers. We have badgers, which is actually pretty neat. I had a badger that was living down at my gun range for a little while, and it was kind of awkward, because they're kind of scary.
They're kind of scary and tough. Were you trying to do pictures with your gun and the badger? Were people trying to bring a badger next to a badger?
Well, the funny thing is, so we had so I had the badger, and then we had a pistol class out here, and I was warning people because they were going out in the weeds to relieve themselves, and I was warning them I wouldn't go over in that area there. That's where I saw the badger. I don't know where he sleeps. I don't know if he hangs out in there.
Yeah, don't pull your junk out in front of that badger.
Yeah, no, they're scrappy little buggers. And then we have down by the river, we have raccoons like crazy. We live up on a hill, so it's not really a problem for us. But our neighbors, they eat their chickens. They get into everything. They get in the garbage. They just cause a big mess. And then we have wild turkeys. We have this giant flock of wild turkeys around here. And they're so dumb and so annoying. And they poop so much.
Yeah, and they're big buggers, turkeys, man.
Oh, they are. They are huge.
Yeah. Did you ever get some of them for Thanksgiving or?
No, apparently what I've been told by the neighbors here is these are not that tasty.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the wild ones probably not. You got to get some serious fat on them.
Yeah, these are a little more lean, but so the neighbors down by the river though, they get a lot more animals than we do because we're up at the tall part. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. No, I actually had to shoot a deer the other day with my carry gun because it got hit by a car. I was out for a walk and somebody hit it, and that sucked. But so that was the first and only thing I've ever killed with my Beretta was a deer.
Yeah,
and,
put it out of its pain.
Yeah, that sucked. That was just a bummer. But actually, and it wasn't like I could go back to my house and get my earplugs. So I was just out for a walk, with my dog.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm never gonna get caught like that again because that's hearing damage. So I went ahead and I've started carrying earplugs in my wallet just if that happens again. Living out in the sticks.
Yeah, good idea. So we got some. So let's. Shelly Fungus says, Hank, I've heard of Larry a million times. First time hearing him though. Good dude, good stuff. So there you go. We got lots of. I don't know if there's any. I'm trying to go through. Someone said secret squirrel when I was talking about the squirrel there. And people were talking about 22s. 22s are awesome guns, man. And the Ruger 1022, I think, should go in the history books as one of the best firearms ever manufactured. My opinion. I love them.
Oh, absolute agreement. I think more kids have learned how to shoot on a Ruger 1022 than probably any other gun there is. I would take that wager.
Yeah. And 42 Chilled says, I train cougars. I don't think he's talking about the... I don't think he's talking about...
Yeah, probably a different kind.
Yeah, that's a little bit different from what we're...
Yeah, the one in my yard was a little more menacing than those.
Yeah, you don't want to train this one. You don't want to train... this one's not going to work out so well for you. Nope. So we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to be right back with Larry Correia.
The Who Moved My Freedom podcast is made possible by our partners at 2A Commerce. Veteran-owned and with over 20 years' experience, 2A Commerce is the leader in custom e-commerce and web application development in the shooting sports industry. Clients include major brands such as Guard Dog Body Armor, Sylvan Arms, AccuFire Technologies, The Tactical Games, Warrior Knife Company, and yours truly, Hank Strange. Visit 2A Commerce and support this show by supporting them. Once again, visit the number 2acommerce.com.
All right, awesome. Let me get the Discord in here. Some people throwing up some memes. So that's the Alec Baldwin one from earlier. When we were talking, let me see if I can get that to go bigger on here. No, I can't. Okay. And let's see, what's this one? No hablo inglés. Okay, I missed that one. That had something to do with.
I think it's because his wife pretended to be from Spain,
Oh,
and
okay.
and actually she's not. She's just an American, but she
Right.
pretended. She put on this big fake accent like she was from Spain or something.
Really? Oh, she's like Madonna with a British accent.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal. Yeah, I don't get that.
Yeah. And here's another one. I've killed more people than all January 6th protesters. Changed my mind, and it's Alec Baldwin. There you go. Okay, so lots of those memes went up on the Discord when we were talking about that. And there's a link. I think Lola put a link there in the chat for anyone who wants to get into that. And let me remind everyone now before I forget. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we've got long distance black powder rifles with Eric of Axis Works. So, I don't know if you've seen that, but apparently we had Ken from K&N Arms was on the other day, and he had a long distance black powder rifle that was bolt action. It was really interesting. It was bolt action black powder, and so we've got the guy who makes those. He's coming on tomorrow.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've got one other show and tell one.
Yes, please hit us with it. Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
Do you know Apex? That makes a lot of like trigger kits and
Yes.
parts and.
Yes.
Okay, so Scott from Apex is a big Monster Hunter fan.
Oh, cool.
So he built this for me.
Oh, nice.
This is sick transit. This is the Earl Harbinger
Oh, cool.
revolver from
Earl
Monster
Harbinger.
Hunter.
Yeah, Earl Harbinger
this
is
thing-
one of my favorite characters. Yeah.
Is amazing. I'm not a big revolver shooter, right? But this thing is amazing. And then I don't have these on it because I can't shoot it with these grips. Because
Yeah, hold
they're
it up
too
a little.
nice.
Up, go up, go up,
Let's
up,
see.
up.
So actually,
Yeah,
there
right
we
there.
go.
Yeah,
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
nice.
so- Yeah,
Puff exemption. I love that.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
don't actually shoot the gun with these grips on it because they're just way too nice. But yeah, this thing is nuts. So Scott, big shout out to Scott from Apex for putting that together for me.
That's really
it's
sweet.
just
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah, and the so for people who don't know, puff exemptions from Monster Hunter. One of the things I love about the Monster Hunter books, and Larry's going to explain this better than me, but here's my explanation of it. What a puff is that if you kill these monsters, the government gives you money. There's like, you kill a vampire, you get, and there's like levels of the monsters, you get more money, and you can actually like make some good loot, right? How'd you come
Yep.
up with that?
I used to be a military contractor, and so I,
Okay,
working
that
for
makes
the government.
sense.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the whole idea of like, so the government, because the monsters are in this series, the monsters are secret, so people don't know about them. But to keep the monster population under control, so it doesn't cause too much trouble, the government pays the Perpetual Unearthly Forces Fund, or PUF, from the Treasury. And so if you kill monsters, they pay you for it. And a PUF exemption, which is actually that medallion you see there on that grip, was for monsters that basically had served their country, and so they had an exemption, and they were
Right.
not, you weren't allowed to murder them anymore.
Yeah, because
and
there's
so
some
I
good
have-
there's some good monsters in your stories, which is the same thing in life. There's some folks out there who are monsters, but for a good cause.
Yep. And
Yeah.
so I do that in the series, and there's good monsters and bad monsters, but basically if you want a PUF exemption, you have to serve your time. And man, we have a lot of fun with that in the series, and like I said, we're 8 books into that series now, with number 9 coming next year. Well, I don't know. Depends on how fast I can go.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's I really do like your enjoy your stories, and I think people out there will feel the same way. Okay, so Lola has a question. Lola says, since Halloween is coming up, what's Larry's favorite B horror movie?
Oh man, that's so hard. Okay, I love the movie Dog Soldiers. I don't know if you've seen. Have you seen that?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I love that flick. And then probably my favorite overall, not really a B movie because it was like way more money, but The Thing.
The Thing?
I love The Thing. Oh my gosh. The original 1985 John Carpenter, The Thing.
Right.
Such a good movie.
Was The Thing based on a book?
I'm not sure. It was based on another movie from the 1950s.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if there was a book for that though. Might have been. But man, that movie. So like I introduced my son to it a couple years ago when he was probably 15, 16. He had a bunch of friends over for Halloween and they were watching scary movies and they're just watching dumb teenage crap. And I was like, nah, kids. Let me hook you boys up with some real proper horror movie. And it was The Thing.
Right.
Scared the crap out of them.
Really?
Man, I'm 47 years old, and that movie still gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Right. I'm trying to. Is it Vampire Hunter? There's a B movie that has. I can't remember the name of it now, but it's a movie and it has vampires in it and werewolves and all that kind of stuff, and it's definitely a B movie. But it's a really funny, cool movie to watch, and I'm trying to remember what exactly the name of it is, but it's slipping me right now. Someone out there is probably going to tell us when it comes to B movies. I like the Mummy series. I don't know if that falls into B movie either.
I love the Mummy.
Yeah,
man,
the Mummy's awesome.
Man, they're such classics. I actually ran a role-playing game for a bunch of gun nuts one year that was the Mummy.
Yeah,
and everybody had. We spent half the time, kitting out their characters with cool 1930s guns.
Yeah. Now, did you do? I'm trying to remember if are there mummies in Monster Hunter?
Actually, I have referenced them, but I have not had one yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. There's you cover all different parts of Florida, and I think that which one of the books is it? Monster Hunter that has there's these fairies or something that are in the Ocala forest.
Oh yeah, I do have a reference for that, and because we have a team stationed in Florida, so there's a team of monster hunters in Florida, and so I've never done a book specifically with those guys, but they've just kind of like they've been mentioned in the background. Basically, I really like Florida. It's a fun state.
Yeah, Florida man.
And so. Yeah, so I've actually had they're a bunch of Florida men, and so I've had a bunch of references to the Florida guys in there, and we also had another one where they would go down and work in the Caribbean, and we had bits I did have bits with a monster called the Luska, which is basically I had this before the movie Sharktopus, by the way, but it was a shark-headed octopus creature, and they're just nasty as all get out, and so I have had the Florida guys pop up. Speaking of mummies, not mine, but I did this anthology. This just came out, and I edited it with Casey Izell. It's called No Game for Knights.
Okay.
And we have a story in here, and they're all noir, sci-fi, and fantasy stories. And we have a story in there by a guy named Mike Haspel. And his story is a mummy. It's an ancient Egyptian mummy who is now a Miami police detective.
Yeah, I think that's so crazy. One of my favorite characters in your books is Franks, the FBI.
Oh, yeah, love Franks.
Yeah, he's a great character. Yeah, basically Frankenstein's monster.
Yep. He's my take on Frankenstein, and I love writing this guy. So basically, my version of Frankenstein went to work for the government as an enforcer. And
total a-hole. I don't know who would play that character. The Rock.
Oh, and the thing is, he's such a jerk. He's just an antisocial, hates everybody jerk.
Right.
And he was so popular that he actually got his own book. Monster Hunter Nemesis is the Franks book. That's the hardest book I've ever written, because to write an entire book where the main character hates everyone and everything.
Right,
and doesn't
I love it. Yeah.
And it came out really good. Man, that guy, Frank,
and basically cannot die.
No. He is like a tank. This dude is a walking tank.
Right.
And so I took the Frankenstein, all the tropes of the Frankenstein monster, and it's like, my version of it. And he is a hoot to write. He's such a dick.
Yeah, if you guys I'm trying to see if you guys out there that are watching this, or listening to this, if you haven't read the Monster Hunter series, read it. You're gonna love it. You'll probably be hitting me up telling me about it. It's really fun stuff. So let me ask you. Here's my thing. I know, what do we got? Like 10 minutes. I was looking at like an interview you did with someone else, and I found it interesting that you don't get along with some of the other writers out there, in your genre. And I was like, you know what? I have to talk about that when Larry comes on the show. So the other writers that I saw was like Stephen King and R.R. Martin. So can we talk about that a little bit?
Well, okay, so Stephen King, the thing there is he writes about guns like politics. Like, he gets political. I'm not talking about fiction. He pontificates on gun rights, and it's the stupidest crap you've ever heard. And I've never actually engaged with Stephen King. I don't know the guy. I have tried to pick fights with him, and he just has avoided me. He wrote like a big screed on gun control back in, I want to say, like 2012, 2014, after some mass shooting. It was just the dumbest crap I've ever read. The guy doesn't know anything about guns, how they work, self-defense. It's pathetic, but he's so full of himself and unbearable. Now, George R.R. Martin, him I do know, and we have clashed several times over the years.
Really?
He's one of the most, like I said, one of the most famous authors in the world, because, he's got HBO money, and Game of Thrones, a huge, big thing. But back in about 2015, I started this thing to get a bunch of conservative writers nominated for this prestigious award, because basically the last like 280 people who had been nominated for this award had all been liberal.
Right. Yeah.
It's like the Oscars for sci-fi and fantasy is what it is.
Right.
And so I started a campaign just to get our fans involved, because our people had pretty much written this process off. So I got them to come back. And George Martin got so butthurt about this. And this is legend. And this is one of those culture war things that actually predates Gamergate. It was that kind of same thing where a bunch of uncouth right-wingers upset the apple cart. And so all these newspapers were writing articles about our racist, sexist hate-mongery.
Yeah. Which basically you played the system that they created.
I did, yeah. And the funny thing was my nominees were actually way more diverse than theirs. But I didn't care about diversity. I just nominated people with good stories, like, who would normally get ignored. And so when we're getting smeared that we're like homophobic, I had some of my nominees were like, "Well, I'm gay," and like, "You are? I didn't even know." I had no idea. I was just I nominated them because they were good writers, right?
Yeah,
and that's what it cared about. And so it was just kind of funny, and they had a big fit. But George Martin wrote the guy who hasn't written a book for like 10 years wrote like 40,000 words. So that's a good
about you.
Yeah, he wrote 40,000 words of blog posts complaining about me and my people. And so I got into this giant public debate with George Martin where we wrote back and forth these big things. And it was either the New York Times or the Boston Globe reported on it. And to give you an idea how this went, George Martin is a billionaire, right?
Right.
I do okay, but I'm not.
And he's got a lot. He's got people who will follow him and get at you on social media.
Oh yeah, hundreds and hundreds of them. So I'm fighting with George Martin. And so the newspaper puts it that they describe George Martin as George R.R. Martin, son of a longshoreman, and they describe me as Larry Correia, best-selling novelist.
What?
So
okay.
Yeah, they didn't put Larry Correia, son of a dairy farmer.
Yeah.
So they had it. So they wrote this thing like I was punching down on George Martin.
Yeah. Yeah.
The guy.
The Hollywood billionaire with Game of Thrones and everything else. Yeah. And fans and all these superstars who have his back or whatever. Yeah, I get it.
I was like, man, I saw quite a few books, but dude, come on, man. We're not even in the same plane of existence. That guy whoops me by orders of magnitude in sales. But it was just kind of funny. So no, I don't get along with George at all because of that. And it's kind of funny because I warned him during this like 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, man, these social justice warrior types, once they get rid of my people, they're going to eat you. I mean, they're going to turn on you guys too because they're insatiable bullies. They've just got to bully somebody. That's how they get their power. And sure enough, after all the conservatives and libertarians fled, and went and did our own thing at Dragon Con instead in Atlanta. These guys, they canceled George R.R. Martin because they had him be the presenter at the awards. So he was reading the names and he got some of the names wrong. And so they had this giant freak out about how George R.R. Martin was a racist hate monger. and so he's basically persona non grata amongst that crowd now, that he was all mad at me for upsetting the apple cart. And I'm watching this laughing my butt off.
Yeah, friendly fire.
Yep. I was like, yep, cannibal feeding frenzy. You guys have fun. We tried to warn you.
Yeah. I really like the part that you were trolling before trolling was, was a thing.
From the dawn of the internet.
Yeah. I mean, you were trolling from back in the days. So, I mean, I think that's been a big key to your success. I know that you have a publisher and everything, so you're not self-publishing, right?
No, I'm with Baen Books. I started out self-published, but I'm with Baen Books now, and Baen is awesome. It's run by a lady named Toni Weisskopf. Toni is amazing. She does not give a crap about her writers' politics. She's like one of the only publishers who doesn't care about her writers' politics.
Oh, cool.
She just cares.
That's awesome. That's
can
the way
you
it
tell
should
a
be.
good story? Yeah, so like we just had a guy, his name was Eric Flint. He passed away earlier this year. Good dude. But Eric Flint was a communist. A friggin' communist. And but she still published him. But she also published me.
Yeah.
She just doesn't care. Toni is all about, do you tell a good story? Do you entertain readers? That's all that matters. And all the political crap, she's above that. And so she's an anomaly. Most of publishing is just horrible.
Yeah, I mean, what's ironic about it is that these are your legitimate political beliefs, and in effect, what these guys want to do is book burn you.
Oh, I've had bookstore employees brag and take pictures of taking my books off the shelves at the bookstores they work at and throwing them in the garbage.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Which is funny to me because the bookstore already bought them.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm still.
It's like you. It's so stupid what these people are doing. Yeah.
If she threw them in the garbage, they can't return them. I'm getting paid for those.
Right. Wow. Yeah. Shelly Fungus says that's refreshing. Larry DCG44 says Baen is classic for sci-fi. I've heard of them myself. They've been around for a long time, and it's good to hear that they haven't let these folks out there push them in a direction.
Nope, they're hardcore. Tony's committed to free speech and telling good stories.
Yeah. So what do you have? We got a couple of minutes here before we start to wrap up. What's next on the horizon? Obviously, you've got the nonfiction book coming out. So what's, in defense of the Second Amendment? After that, what can we look forward to from Larry Correia?
Okay, so in defense of the Second Amendment is January. Also in January, I have Lost Planet Homicide Episode 2 coming out on Audible. That's my gritty cop show in space. And then coming out in April is the fourth book of the Saga, The Forgotten Warrior. It's called Tower of Silence. And it's awesome. I'm really excited about that. And after that, I have another Monster Hunter novel called Monster Hunter Memoirs Fever. That is a spin-off novel set in 1970s California, written by me and Jason Cordova. So that's a collaboration. And that I believe the date on that is October, I think. And then after that, I have a bunch of other stuff. There is more Hard Magic coming. There's another trilogy of that. There's more Monster Hunter, like the main series Monster Hunter will be after that. And there's one more book in the Saga, The Forgotten Warrior, because that's a 5-book series. And then hopefully, if the sales are good, my last book, Servants of War.
Hold that up. Let's get that.
Yeah. So, hey, everybody listening, go buy a copy of this.
And that's on audiobook too.
It is, yeah, because we want to do a sequel for that, and so that would be awesome.
Right.
So that's what I've got coming up. That's what I got coming up right away.
What's up with Tom Stranger? And I think he needs to. I think he needs to join up with someone from YouTube. Like very handsome black gun guy with a mohawk from YouTube, also named Strange, ironically.
That's a pretty specific.
That's my pitch.
A pretty specific. Yeah, that's pretty specific description there. No, I need to do Tom, but I just haven't had time. My gosh.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you've got you already have a ton of stuff coming.
We wouldn't be able to keep the Who Moved My Freedom podcast going without the support of manufacturers like Safety Harbor Firearms. SHF is a quintessential family-owned small business, totally representative of the American dream. Safety Harbor Firearms is a Florida-based manufacturer of the compact entry stock and the SHTF 50 upper for an AR-15 lower. Also, SHF happily delivers on your Sten gun parts needs. So don't forget to check out stenparts.com and safetyharborfirearms.com.
All right, there we go. You know what, Larry? It's really, really been fun talking to you, man. Like, I could keep going, talking about a lot of stuff, but I appreciate you taking the time and coming on here. When In Defense of the Second Amendment comes out, I'm going to do my best to help get that out there to the folks in the world that I know that I think you're part of the Second Amendment community, and I'm glad that folks here, hopefully through this podcast, will have an opportunity to figure that out about you, right? To realize that, you're a guy who's been here in the community for a long time, and show some support for this nonfiction book that you're putting out.
No, I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. I had a good time.
Oh, absolutely. Same here. Shelly Funga says thanks for the show. Hank, Lola, Larry, and the buddies in the chat. So here's what I want to do. I want to give you an opportunity to tell the folks out there how they can support you, follow you on social media, and all that kind of stuff. How do they do that?
Sure. So my blog is monsterhunternation.com. I am on Facebook, just under my name, Larry Correia, and I'm on Twitter when I'm not banned on either of those two places. So that's the best place to find me is my blog, monsterhunternation.com, and my books are available everywhere, pretty much everywhere books are sold.
Yeah, Larry's very big on the website. He's he's been doing the website thing for a long time, and that is, as he said, probably the best place to go. And I know you're very active on Twitter, so who knows what's happening with Twitter, but
yeah, we'll see what happens there. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Also, for the aspiring writers, anybody who's an aspiring writer or just interested in writing, like I said, writerdojo.com is the podcast that I do with Steve Diamond. So check that out, and hopefully that'll be helpful to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be checking that out myself. I know one of the things I'd like to get back to, I'm trying to figure out how to juggle all the different things we have going on here, but I want to get back to writing. And, that's why I enjoy having guests on that are authors and stuff like that. So lots of thank yous coming from the folks out there, including Lola. And Cruiseman says, I'm glad I caught at least half the show. You can always go back and watch this, and we'll have it up on audio as well as it's going to go up on YouTube. So here's what I'm going to do, Larry. I'm going to roll in the end, but don't leave. I'm going to roll in the end, and we're going to come back, and I'm going to ask you to leave us with some words of wisdom. So I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about that. And I'm going to roll the end in right now, so stay right there. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. I do want to let you guys know that tomorrow we're going to have... I completely forgot his name now. Hold on, let me pull it up. This is why I got the Discord. As Lola said, we've got long-distance black powder rifles with Eric of Axis Works coming on tomorrow. There you go. Good thing I've got those notes to reach out to. Larry Correia, words of wisdom.
Read books with your kids and teach your kids to shoot guns.
Amen. Amen. Thanks so much to Larry Correia for joining us here. I appreciate you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Larry, stay there. I'm going to hit the buttons and end this right now. Thanks, guys. We'll see you. We're out of here. Peace.